Moola Nakshatra, frame of reference, internal or external. Some individuals rely on an internal frame of reference, guided by instinct, inner knowing, or deeply held beliefs. Others move through life with an external frame of reference, looking to social norms, feedback, or external validation to inform their decisions. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, inward pull, spiritual depth, and associated with Niriti, goddess of destruction and truth, is deeply oriented toward an internal frame of reference. These natives tend to move against the grain, trusting what they feel at a soul level rather than what they're told. Even when confused or destabilized, they rarely give full authority to the outside world. Their path involves radical inner excavation, which makes them resistant to societal pressure, but highly responsive to their own inner shifts. Planetary placements in the 4th, 7th, and 10th houses influence how consistently this internal compass stays centered. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the internal reference is intuitive and karmic. These individuals often just know what they're meant to do or what they must walk away from. In Moola, Ketu intensifies the inward gaze. They act from a place beyond logic or social conditioning. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may appear externally successful, but their decisions are made privately, silently, and often spiritually. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the frame of reference can shift toward external emotional feedback. These natives may feel internally guided, but still tune into how others are feeling or responding, especially in close relationships. In Moola, the Moon makes them emotionally complex. They may follow their intuition, but doubt themselves when emotional support is lacking. If Moon is in the 10th, they manage public roles carefully, adjusting based on perception, but still return to solitude to decide what really matters. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the reference point may lean toward external logic or strategy. These individuals are capable of deep thought, but often organize their experience based on what can be communicated, proven, or explained. In Moola, Mercury helps articulate their internal truth. They may use others as sounding boards, but decisions ultimately come from within. If Mercury is in the 10th, their public image may appear rational or adaptable, even if it hides a more intuitive decision-making core. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the frame remains internal but action-driven. These natives often act from gut instinct and inner fire rather than consensus. In Moola, Mars adds boldness to their inner truth. They don't need agreement to move forward. If Mars is in the 10th, they're seen as lone warriors, those who lead not by persuasion, but by conviction. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the native may appear to follow external rules, but their frame is still deeply internal. These individuals act responsibly, but always return to their personal sense of right and wrong. In Moola, Saturn brings structure to the internal search. They may follow tradition briefly, only to eventually question or rebuild it from scratch. If Saturn is in the 10th, they may carry great responsibility outwardly, while privately dismantling and redefining their true purpose. Moola's core truth is this: no outer authority knows what the soul must uproot. These natives are guided by inner clarity, even when that clarity first appears as destruction. Their growth lies in learning to trust their path, even when no one else understands it. When integrated, Moola becomes the sovereign seeker, guided not by approval or reward, but by the pull toward liberation, healing, and the wisdom buried in their own roots. Moola Nakshatra, action preference, proactive or reactive. Some individuals are naturally proactive. They initiate, disrupt, or lead change from within. Others are more reactive, responding to situations as they unfold, often processing through emotion or instinct before acting. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, instinct, karmic unraveling, and associated with Niriti, goddess of destruction and transformation, leans toward a reactive action preference, but one that is deeply instinctual and catalytic. Moola natives often move after an inner shift, an emotional purge, or a moment of inner truth. Their reaction is not passive, it's rooted in soul-deep perception. They wait, absorb, and then act with force, usually cutting ties, shifting direction, or initiating deep change. However, when empowered and spiritually clear, Moola can shift into proactive intensity, leading with fierce clarity and disrupting stagnation with purpose. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how their action style plays out. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the action style is reactive through detachment. These individuals don't always initiate, they wait for an inner signal or karmic nudge. In Moola, Ketu makes them move after something breaks, be it illusion, attachment, or alignment. If Ketu is in the 10th, their public actions may seem unpredictable. They withdraw, change direction, or take bold steps that others don't see coming. If Moon is in the 4th or 6th house, the action is emotionally reactive. These natives often wait until feelings build to a point of no return. In Moola, Moon adds vulnerability. They may retreat until emotionally clear, then act with surprising force. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional reactivity shows in their career. They may abruptly leave roles or relationships that feel out of alignment, often after long silence. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the action becomes more proactive, but with a focused edge. These individuals are decisive when they know what they're fighting for. In Moola, Mars gives surgical precision. They take swift, sharp action to correct, cut, or reclaim power. If Mars is in the 10th, they may rise as bold leaders, protectors, or reformers who move into action when others hesitate. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, action is proactive through strategy, but with emotional distance. These individuals move with clarity once they've mentally untangled the emotional noise. In Moola, Mercury refines the storm. They speak or act when it matters, not when it's expected. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may have a reputation for quiet influence, leading through timing and depth, not volume. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, action is slow, reactive, and karmically conscious. These natives rarely move fast. They calculate, absorb consequences, and act only when ready. In Moola, Saturn gives them discipline. They may appear passive, but their actions are weighted and transformative. If Saturn is in the 10th, they're public figures of restraint, respected for what they don't say as much as what they do. Moola's action style is like a root snapping underground, silent, unseen, but irreversible. These natives don't act often, but when they do, it marks a turning point. Their power lies in responding from a place of inner truth, not outer pressure. Their evolution comes from learning when stillness is wisdom and when clarity demands initiation. When integrated, Moola becomes the karmic catalyst, unafraid to end what's false and bold enough to begin again, all from the soul's command. Moola Nakshatra, operational style, options versus procedures. Some individuals prefer an options-based style, favoring freedom, experimentation, and flexibility. Others lean toward procedures, working best with clear systems, structure, and defined methods. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, deconstruction, insight, and associated with Niriti, goddess of destruction and inner truth, naturally leans toward an option style, especially in the early phases of life. These natives are instinctive, unpredictable, and often uncomfortable with rigid systems that feel limiting or artificial. Moola thrives on exploration and unraveling, pulling things apart to understand what lies beneath. However, once they've found their personal truth or healing purpose, they may begin to create or honor procedures as a way of protecting what they've uncovered. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how this balance between freedom and structure unfolds. If Ketu is in the 1st or 3rd house, the native strongly prefers options. These individuals resist outer control and prefer to operate on instinct, insight, and inner flow. In Moola, Ketu gives them a dismantling nature. They may abandon paths quickly when they feel inauthentic. If Ketu is in the 10th, their public identity may appear unconventional. They may change careers, reject authority, or carve out roles that honor independence over structure. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the native begins to embrace intelligent procedures. These individuals like to organize their chaos, not for control, but for clarity. In Moola, Mercury brings mental agility. They may use systems as tools to navigate breakdown or transformation. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may work in structured environments, but still apply their own flexible strategic methods within them. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the operational style becomes structured through focused action. These individuals need purpose and direction, even if the methods aren't conventional. In Moola, Mars gives urgency to organize. They create their own disciplined rhythm to push through chaos. If Mars is in the 10th, they may rise through roles that demand both independence and results. Militant healers, strategists, or intense reformers. If Moon is in the 4th or 6th house, the preference shifts toward emotional procedures, routines that feel safe, soothing, or intuitively guided. These individuals need emotional grounding before structure can take hold. In Moola, the Moon stabilizes the storm. They build rituals or daily rhythms to hold emotional depth. If Moon is in the 10th, this grounding becomes visible. They are seen as composed professionals, even if they work from deep emotional undercurrents. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the operational style becomes solidly procedural, but often forged through hardship. These individuals learn to embrace systems over time, especially when chaos or loss has made structure feel necessary. In Moola, Saturn helps turn breakdown into discipline. They may initially resist rules, but eventually create systems that protect what they've rebuilt. If Saturn is in the 10th, they become powerful builders after the fall, respected for their slow, steady, and rooted approach to leadership. Moola's operational genius lies in its ability to break what doesn't work and build what does. These natives work best when they can question everything, then choose or design procedures that reflect their hard-won clarity. Their growth lies in learning that freedom isn't the absence of structure. It's the ability to choose structure consciously. When balanced, Moola becomes the radical reformer, unafraid to deconstruct, yet wise enough to rebuild with precision and soul. Moola Nakshatra, views, general or specific. Some individuals operate with a general view, favoring broad themes, symbolic meaning, or universal truths. Others lean toward a specific view, focusing on detail, exactness, and dissecting reality into its parts. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, root wisdom, and associated with Niriti, goddess of dissolution and radical truth, leans strongly toward a general view, especially one that is spiritual, karmic, or existential in nature. Moola natives aren't content with surface facts. They instinctively seek the underlying why, the spiritual root beneath appearances. However, their process of deconstruction often demands a period of specific focus, especially when dismantling belief systems, identities, or illusions. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses help reveal how their perception unfolds. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the view is broad and karmic, often nonlinear. These individuals operate through abstraction, sensing truth through emotional or spiritual instinct rather than rational steps. In Moola, Ketu amplifies symbolic perception. They see life through the lens of soul contracts, generational patterns, and past life echoes. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may rise to power through intuitive mastery, viewed as enigmatic, visionary, or profoundly beyond in their perspective. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the view becomes more specific and analytical. These individuals still seek deeper meaning, but prefer to break it down and analyze before accepting anything as truth. In Moola, Mercury helps anchor insight. They process one layer at a time, often becoming researchers, editors, or communicators of difficult truths. If Mercury is in the 10th, they bring clarity to complexity in their work, dissecting chaos with thoughtful precision. If Moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the view is emotionally symbolic, shifting between general themes and specific memories. These natives understand life through emotional resonance, absorbing the story or karmic tone behind events. In Moola, Moon adds depth. They connect patterns emotionally, even if they can't explain them logically. If Moon is in the 10th, they become emotionally perceptive leaders, understanding both the soul and the setting. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the general view becomes philosophical, ethical, and expansive. These individuals naturally link personal experience to larger truths, values, or spiritual laws. In Moola, Jupiter offers context. They find meaning in collapse, purpose in pain, and wisdom in endings. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may teach, preach, or lead from a space of moral or metaphysical vision. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the perception is often specific through action and correction. These individuals understand through confrontation. They see what's broken and want to fix it. In Moola, Mars dissects with purpose. They use focus as a tool to clear what no longer serves. If Mars is in the 10th, they may become visible as sharp reformers, task-focused, fearless, and unafraid to say what others avoid. Moola's natural view is rooted in essence, not appearances. These natives live to understand life at its core, not by cataloging surface details, but by sensing what's real beneath it all. Their growth lies in learning when specificity is needed to support healing, communication, or transformation, and when to rest in the broader rhythm of life cycles. When balanced, Moola becomes the truth teller who can both cut to the core and speak from the soul, seeing the world not in fragments, but in sacred patterns that lead back to origin. Moola Nakshatra, work preferences, together, proximity, or solo. Some individuals thrive working together in active collaboration and shared goals. Others prefer proximity, operating independently while staying close to others for occasional input or energy exchange. Some work best solo, valuing full autonomy, emotional privacy, and uninterrupted focus. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, introspection, and associated with Niriti, goddess of dissolution and depth, has a strong preference for solo work. These natives operate best in quiet, undisturbed environments where they can explore, deconstruct, and rebuild without interference. They often need time and space to work through intense emotions, karmic unraveling, or transformational ideas. While they may appreciate proximity in safe, aligned spaces, too much emotional or social entanglement can feel overwhelming or distracting. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how their ideal work environment manifests. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the work style is deeply solo, with a preference for self-guided exploration. These individuals often follow their own rhythm, working best when free from external influence or expectation. In Moola, Ketu amplifies the need to detach. They may withdraw from conventional team structures to pursue more introspective or soul-driven tasks. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may succeed in unconventional careers or solitary leadership roles, seen as insightful, mysterious, or unconventional in their professional approach. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, there may be a preference for proximity, especially in emotionally safe or familiar environments. These individuals are sensitive to energy and may benefit from having trusted people nearby, even if they still work independently. In Moola, the moon adds depth to emotional processing. They need solitude, but also the reassurance of occasional connection. If Moon is in the 10th, they may appear emotionally present in leadership, yet rely on private space to sustain their strength. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the work style blends solo effort with strategic proximity. These individuals enjoy idea exchange, but need control over execution. In Moola, Mercury brings a sharp intellect and an analytical lens. They may collaborate briefly, but prefer to process and produce alone. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are likely seen as communicators or strategists, working in high-focus roles that allow for intellectual freedom. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the preference is often solo, with clear boundaries. These individuals are fiercely independent, driven, and prefer to push through tasks on their own terms. In Moola, Mars adds intensity. They may resist micromanagement and prefer to lead or act without consultation. If Mars is in the 10th, they rise through self-discipline, assertiveness, and the ability to handle pressure alone. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the work style leans towards solo within structure. These individuals value order, purpose, and time-tested methods, even if they prefer to work alone. In Moola, Saturn tempers chaos. They create personal systems or routines to hold the emotional intensity of their work. If Saturn is in the 10th, they're seen as disciplined and self-reliant, working quietly but steadily toward mastery. Moola's ideal work environment is private, purposeful, and inwardly driven. These natives need room to go deep, whether into research, healing, spiritual work, or deconstructive analysis. Their growth lies in finding space that honors their inner process while still allowing for aligned collaboration when trust and clarity are present. When respected, Moola becomes the wise excavator, doing powerful work in solitude, returning only to share what they've unearthed from the depths. Moola Nakshatra, cognitive subconscious patterns, audio, visual, and kinesthetic. Some individuals process the world through auditory channels, paying close attention to words, tone, and internal dialogue. Others rely on visual cues, absorbing information through imagery, symbolism, and spatial memory. Still others are kinesthetic, deeply attuned to bodily sensations, emotional undercurrents, and instinctual feelings. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, depth, karmic intelligence. And associated with Niriti, the goddess of dissolution, leans strongly toward kinesthetic and visual symbolic processing. These natives often operate beneath the surface, absorbing truths that others overlook, sensing meaning through feeling, sensation, and abstract imagery. Their subconscious cognition is raw, intuitive, and deconstructive. They often unlearn before they learn, pulling things apart to get to the root. While not typically verbal in their processing, they can develop powerful auditory clarity when truth cuts through illusion. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses shape how this deeper processing expresses itself. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the dominant style is kinesthetic intuitive. These individuals process reality through body memory, instinct, and silent knowing. In Moola, Ketu amplifies detachment from logic. They often feel what's true long before they can articulate it. If Ketu is in the 10th, their public persona may seem mysterious. They move in ways that others don't fully understand, acting from an inner compass rather than external logic. If Moon is in the 1st or 4th house, the style is kinesthetic emotional, with a deep sensitivity to environments, relationships, and inner shifts. These individuals are strongly reactive to emotional texture. They remember how something felt, not necessarily what was said. In Moola, Moon adds emotional depth to karmic unraveling. They process through grief, loss, and healing, often in nonlinear waves. If Moon is in the 10th, this creates emotional awareness in public life. They instinctively know how to respond, even if they don't explain why. If Venus or Jupiter is in the 5th or 9th house, the processing style brings in visual symbolic intelligence. These individuals understand through archetypes, metaphors, or inner vision. In Moola, Venus brings beauty to breakdown. They may experience transformation through art, dreams, or creative expression. Jupiter adds spiritual symbolism. They process ideas through myth, morality, or karmic philosophy. If either is in the 10th, their leadership often includes depth, symbolism, or a sense of destiny that others feel but may not see. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, auditory processing becomes more refined. These natives develop verbal precision, especially when they've cleared inner noise. In Moola, Mercury doesn't chatter, it cuts. They speak when something needs to be said, often using words as truth blades. If Mercury is in the 10th, their communication may be public, healing, or deeply transformative, whether through teaching, writing, or truth-telling roles. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the subconscious processing is kinesthetic through instinct and survival. These individuals absorb information through bodily reaction. They move, act, or defend based on gut-level response. In Moola, Mars gives them piercing perception. They spot weakness or danger instinctively. If Mars is in the 10th, they often take on roles that involve cutting through illusion, initiating transformation, or confronting truths others avoid. Moola's cognitive style is raw, primal, and revelatory. These natives often process by stripping away layers, emotionally, mentally, or symbolically, until what's left is real. They may not follow traditional logic, but their understanding is karmically accurate. Their growth lies in trusting this deep, nonlinear process, allowing feeling, vision, and intuitive truth to lead. When integrated, Moola becomes the soul surgeon, precise, fearless, and able to perceive what lies beneath the surface, because they've been there themselves. Moola Nakshatra, motivation direction, towards versus away from. Some individuals are motivated towards a goal, driven by aspiration, growth, truth, or a compelling vision. Others are primarily motivated away from something, moving to avoid pain, loss, emotional vulnerability, or internal chaos. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, karma, inward withdrawal, and associated with Niriti, the goddess of destruction and transformation, leans strongly toward an away-from motivation style, especially in its earlier stages. These natives are often propelled by a deep urge to pull away from illusion, entanglement, or inherited conditioning. Their journey usually begins with loss, rupture, or a stripping away that causes them to retreat inward, seeking to unearth what is true beneath the surface. However, once the dust of dissolution settles, Moola can powerfully shift into a towards mode, aiming for spiritual clarity, soul-rooted purpose, or transformative leadership. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 6th, and 10th houses shape how this motivational pattern reveals itself. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the motivation is deeply away from, rooted in detachment from identity, ego, or worldly ambition. These individuals often move through life shedding roles rather than chasing them. In Moola, Ketu magnifies the urge to renounce or retreat. They are often driven to disconnect from what feels false or karmically loaded. If Ketu is in the 10th, their public life may appear detached or mysterious. They may walk away from conventional success in search of something more meaningful. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, motivation is away from emotional instability or internal disruption. These individuals crave inner peace and may act quickly to remove themselves from anything that threatens it. In Moola, Moon adds emotional gravity. They're motivated to protect their emotional roots by pulling back from drama, intensity, or betrayal. If Moon is in the 10th, this need for emotional control plays out publicly. They may choose roles that allow them to maintain privacy and inner emotional autonomy. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, motivation shifts more clearly towards, especially through action, purpose, or inner power. These natives are propelled to fight, fix, or forge through. In Moola, Mars adds fire to Ketu's detachment. They are driven to cut through falseness, even if it's painful. If Mars is in the 10th, they often rise as courageous disruptors, leaders who are unafraid to take risks in pursuit of clarity, truth, or regeneration. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the motivation becomes towards intellectual truth and clear expression. These individuals are moved to refine, understand, or communicate the roots of what matters. In Moola, Mercury gives them the courage to question everything. They are driven by the desire to expose lies, dismantle false narratives, and find the essence beneath complexity. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes public. They may work as writers, healers, investigators, or guides who help others unravel what's real. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the motivation is a slow shift from away from fear to towards mastery. These individuals often begin life avoiding instability, loss, or failure, but eventually channel that into long-term purpose. In Moola, Saturn gives structure to Ketu's intensity. They may initially run from pressure, but grow into deeply responsible carriers of truth. If Saturn is in the 10th, they rise through discipline and inner strength, earning respect not from ambition, but from grounded resilience. Moola's core motivation is to unearth, strip away, and begin again. These natives are often moved by what they must leave behind before they even know what they're moving toward. Their evolution lies in transforming loss into liberation, learning that walking away isn't always rejection, it's realignment. When balanced, Moola becomes a fearless truth seeker, cutting ties with what no longer serves, and stepping forward not out of fear, but from a powerful inner knowing of what's real, lasting, and soul deep. Moola Nakshatra, attention direction, self or others. Some individuals primarily direct attention inward, constantly monitoring their thoughts, emotions, and inner transformation. Others are more attuned to others, observing behaviors, reading energy, and focusing on external feedback or dynamics. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu inward pull, karmic detachment, and associated with Niriti, the goddess of disintegration and truth, strongly leans toward a self-focused attention style. These natives are deeply introspective, often scanning their inner world for meaning, disruption, or emotional undercurrents. They instinctively withdraw from surface-level distractions to explore what lies beneath. However, in roles of healing, teaching, or crisis resolution, Moola can become sharply others-aware, not for validation, but to read what needs to be undone, transformed, or released. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses influence how this inward gaze interacts with the outer world. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, attention is deeply self-directed, often to the point of detachment from external feedback. These individuals are intensely reflective, often examining identity, karma, or purpose without seeking outside input. In Moola, Ketu draws their attention inward. They question everything, often pulling apart belief systems or identities. If Ketu is in the 10th, this may translate into a public role that appears mysterious or withdrawn. They may lead from behind the scenes or through quiet power. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, attention becomes relational and emotionally responsive. These individuals are sensitive to emotional tone and may focus on others when bonds feel intense or unstable. In Moola, the Moon adds a gravitational pull. They may swing between emotional absorption and sudden retreat. If Moon is in the 10th, their outer presence may be shaped by the emotional needs of others. They track public tone, then withdraw to process privately. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, attention becomes dual-tracked, processing both internal thoughts and external cues. These individuals are mentally agile, often shifting between self-reflection and keen observation of others. In Moola, Mercury brings sharp perception. They may detach emotionally while watching others carefully for patterns or inconsistencies. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes a professional gift. They may thrive in roles requiring strategic listening, research, or transformative communication. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, attention is self-focused through instinct and control. These natives are highly attuned to internal tension, drive, and survival triggers. In Moola, Mars gives them the ability to act decisively, but only after inwardly gauging what feels true. If Mars is in the 10th, they are seen as quiet enforcers, focused, intense, and often one step ahead in anticipating challenge or disruption. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, attention is inwardly contained but outwardly disciplined. These individuals focus on internal order, emotional control, and karmic weight. In Moola, Saturn adds gravity. They carry emotional heaviness that keeps their gaze inward, even while appearing composed. If Saturn is in the 10th, they're often public figures with a private soul, measured, wise, but deeply focused on their own inner alignment. Moola's natural attention is soulward, aimed at what's beneath, behind, and beyond the surface. These natives don't track others to belong. They do so to understand what's real or unravel what's false. Their evolution lies in balancing inner inquiry with outer presence, learning when to engage, when to observe, and when to withdraw. When balanced, Moola becomes the inward seer and outward liberator, someone who transforms not by controlling others, but by mastering the self first. Moola Nakshatra, understanding chunk size, big or little. Some individuals process reality in big chunks, grasping broad themes, archetypes, and abstract truths. Others prefer little chunks, breaking information down into precise steps or focused details. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, root-seeking, karmic insight, and associated with Niriti, the goddess of dissolution, leans toward a big chunk understanding style. These natives are driven to uncover the root of things, not the surface explanation, but the deeper existential or karmic truth beneath it. They often discard the finer details in favor of what feels universally or spiritually true. However, when necessary, especially during personal upheaval or crisis, they can zero in with surgical precision, dissecting ideas or emotions to clear space for transformation. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how their perception unfolds. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the understanding is deeply intuitive and symbolic, often bypassing structure entirely. These individuals process through insight, emotional knowing, or spiritual flashes. In Moola, Ketu intensifies abstraction. They may just know the truth, but struggle to explain how. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may be seen as enigmatic guides or disruptive teachers, those who deliver wisdom without conventional form. If Moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the understanding remains big chunk, but through emotional resonance. These individuals learn through emotional immersion, stories, symbols, or experiences that hold meaning over time. In Moola, the Moon roots this style and feeling. They absorb the essence of a situation rather than dissect it. If Moon is in the 10th, they may lead through emotional wisdom, sensing the larger pattern behind social or relational dynamics. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the native gains access to little chunk processing. These individuals can organize thought, compare facts, or create structure around intuition. In Moola, Mercury grounds the root seeking with clarity. They may translate abstract insights into practical language. If Mercury is in the 10th, they become powerful communicators of truth, able to simplify depth without diminishing its meaning. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, understanding becomes active and dissective. These individuals break things down instinctively, especially when clarity is urgent. In Moola, Mars sharpens the breakdown. They pull things apart, systems, beliefs, behaviors, often to rebuild something stronger. If Mars is in the 10th, this is seen professionally. They're truth cutters, strategists, or reformers who dig deep and lead with conviction. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the big chunk style becomes philosophical and moral. These individuals understand life through archetypes, dharma, or karmic law. In Moola, Jupiter expands their perception. They seek higher meaning, often through spiritual questioning or radical unlearning. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they serve as teachers or guides, conveying big truths born from inner disassembly. Moola's cognitive essence is karmic, nonlinear, and symbolic. These natives don't memorize, they remember from within. They learn best by undoing first, stripping away the false to see what remains. Their growth lies in learning when to ground insight in form and when to let the bigger truth speak for itself. When balanced, Moola becomes the deep-rooted visionary, one who processes reality through the lens of origin, loss, and ultimate liberation. Moola Nakshatra, experience, association versus dissociation. Some individuals experience life through association, fully immersed in emotions, bodily sensations, and direct engagement with their environment. Others lean toward dissociation, mentally or emotionally stepping back to observe, detach, or protect themselves from intensity. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, karmic separation, and associated with Niriti, goddess of destruction, surrender, and endings, is inherently inclined toward dissociation, but not in a passive or escapist sense. These natives often enter life through profound emotional or psychological intensity, and their instinct is to pull away in order to understand, survive, or transmute. For Moola, dissociation is often a gateway to deeper truths. It allows them to observe what others avoid and to unearth what lies beneath appearances. However, when safe and aligned, Moola can shift into powerful association, engaging fully with their body, emotions, or healing work, but always with conscious intent. Planetary placements in the 4th, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how this balance manifests. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the dissociation is identity-based and karmic. These individuals may feel detached from ego, personality, or surface-level roles. In Moola, Ketu dissolves self-attachment. They often feel like observers in their own lives. If Ketu is in the 10th, this plays out publicly. They may appear mysterious, ungrounded, or strangely distant in leadership roles, often working behind the scenes or through intuitive channels. If Moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the experience leans more toward association, especially in the emotional body. These individuals feel everything deeply, though they may still process in isolation. In Moola, Moon adds raw sensitivity. They may immerse in emotional experience before detaching to process or reset. If Moon is in the 10th, this vulnerability becomes more visible. They may seem emotionally present in public, but retreat inward when overwhelmed. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, dissociation becomes controlled and surgical. These individuals may act from instinct while remaining emotionally detached. In Moola, Mars sharpens their ability to cut ties. They move through intensity not by feeling everything, but by clearing what no longer serves. If Mars is in the 10th, they appear bold and capable, handling crises without emotional collapse, often taking decisive action while remaining inwardly composed. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the dissociation is mental and observational. These natives often process their experience through language, analysis, or internal dialogue. In Moola, Mercury becomes the truth filter. They distance themselves emotionally in order to see clearly. If Mercury is in the 10th, this makes them excellent communicators or counselors, able to hold space for others without becoming entangled. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, dissociation is protective and structured. These individuals often wall off their emotional experience to maintain control or responsibility. In Moola, Saturn reinforces boundaries. They feel deeply, but rarely show it. If Saturn is in the 10th, they're seen as composed leaders, carrying intensity quietly, often sacrificing emotional expression for the sake of duty or endurance. Moola's experience of life is like walking barefoot through fire, feeling, withdrawing, then rising. These natives must often pull away in order to survive or understand. But their strength lies in returning, consciously and purposefully, when they're ready. Their growth lies in knowing when dissociation is wisdom and when association is healing. When integrated, Moola becomes the fearless witness, able to stand in the heart of dissolution, feel what's real, and still choose to engage with clarity, presence, and profound truth. Moola Nakshatra approach. Matching versus mismatching. Some individuals move through life with a matching approach, seeking alignment, resonance, and coherence in relationships, systems, and beliefs. Others use a mismatching lens, spotting flaws, noticing what's false, and instinctively pulling apart what doesn't fit. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, radical discernment, and associated with Niriti, goddess of dissolution, destruction, and root truth, is naturally inclined toward a mismatching approach. These natives are instinctive truth cutters. They question, unravel, and challenge the surface until they reach the root. Their perception is not driven by a need to criticize, but by a soul-level commitment to stripping away illusion. Moola mismatches because it must, because something untrue or misaligned cannot stay. However, once falsehood is cleared, Moola can shift into a matching mindset, seeking coherence, healing, and integrity from the inside out. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how this cognitive approach shows up in daily life and public roles. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the approach is deeply mismatching, especially at a personal or intuitive level. These individuals instinctively pull away from anything that feels false: roles, people, systems, or beliefs. In Moola, Ketu gives soul-level discernment. They may seem detached or skeptical, but they're simply refusing to bond with anything untrue. If Ketu is in the 10th, they're often seen as disruptors or quiet revolutionaries, those who question the norm and break cycles publicly, whether or not they seek recognition. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, mismatching becomes verbal and intellectual. These individuals are highly observant, often dissecting ideas, language, and logic to expose contradiction or manipulation. In Moola, Mercury adds sharp articulation. They mismatch with clarity, often expressing what others are afraid to say. If Mercury is in the 10th, they thrive in roles requiring analysis, truth-telling, or behind-the-scenes influence. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, mismatching becomes emotional and relational. These individuals feel when something is off, when a connection is energetically wrong or emotionally unsafe. In Moola, Moon makes them emotionally sensitive and reactive to misalignment. They may withdraw suddenly from relationships that no longer feel rooted. If Moon is in the 10th, they carry this into public life, intuitively sensing the tone of an environment and pulling back when it feels unstable or performative. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, mismatching becomes decisive and corrective. These individuals don't just notice what's wrong, they act on it. In Moola, Mars gives them the courage to sever ties or confront what no longer serves. If Mars is in the 10th, they become known as reformers, fixers, or spiritual warriors, those who initiate necessary disruption with force and clarity. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the approach becomes more matching. Though not superficially, these natives still question, but they're searching for ethical alignment or philosophical truth. In Moola, Jupiter softens the edge. They challenge, but also uplift. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may act as teachers or guides, matching principles to practice, helping others find wholeness after breakdown. Moola's natural intelligence is rooted in mismatch, not as rebellion, but as revelation. These natives are here to unearth, not to accept blindly. Their power lies in trusting what doesn't sit right and honoring the instinct to pull apart before piecing together. Their evolution comes when they learn that mismatching isn't meant to isolate. It's meant to clear space for truth. When balanced, Moola becomes the sacred challenger, unafraid to confront the lie and wise enough to rebuild what's real. Moola Nakshatra, time experience, in time versus through time. Some individuals experience life in time, deeply present, emotionally reactive, and attuned to the intensity of the moment. Others live through time, perceiving life as a sequence of cause, effect, and karmic unfolding. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, timelessness, karmic depth, and associated with Niriti, goddess of destruction and inner truth, leans strongly toward a through-time orientation, though often in a nonlinear, mystical sense. Moola natives perceive time as spiral, not straight. Their awareness stretches into the past, across lifetimes, ancestral patterns, and soul contracts. They are rarely fully in the moment, unless that moment contains something raw, real, or revelatory. However, during periods of emotional breakdown or intense transition, they can snap into in-time awareness, experiencing pain, clarity, or release with full immediacy. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses influence whether they process time reflectively or in emotionally urgent waves. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the native's relationship with time is through time and inwardly karmic. These individuals often feel outside of linear time. They make choices based on inner knowing rather than immediate reward. In Moola, Ketu deepens this timelessness. They may be unaware of clock time, but are attuned to cycles, endings, and returns. If Ketu is in the 10th, their professional path may be unpredictable or deeply fated, shaped by forces beyond rational planning. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, time is experienced in time, emotionally and intuitively. These individuals are strongly affected by the present emotional atmosphere, often making choices based on feeling rather than foresight. In Moola, Moon adds emotional immediacy. They live in emotional now-ness, but may later reflect on the karmic roots of what unfolded. If Moon is in the 10th, they are emotionally responsive in public life, shaped by the present tone, yet drawn to solitude for integration. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, time becomes measured and strategic, leaning more through time. These individuals think ahead, track patterns, and communicate with awareness of timing. In Moola, Mercury sharpens their sense of when to act. They use past lessons to time their words and moves. If Mercury is in the 10th, they're seen as calculated, reflective communicators who speak with impact and often at pivotal turning points. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, time experience can shift between in-time reactivity and through-time correction. These individuals may respond immediately in conflict, but later reflect deeply on why. In Moola, Mars adds fire. They cut ties or act suddenly when they feel karmic urgency. If Mars is in the 10th, they may appear bold and timely, taking decisive action in public or professional life, often after long internal buildup. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the native operates strongly through time with a focus on legacy, discipline, and karmic responsibility. These individuals are rarely impulsive. They weigh their moves heavily. In Moola, Saturn brings gravity to time. They are painfully aware of what must end, and they often delay action until it's absolutely necessary. If Saturn is in the 10th, they're seen as slow-burning professionals, measured, steady, and shaped by the long arc of experience. Moola's time experience is spiral, soul-based, and transformational. These natives aren't concerned with speed. They are concerned with truth. Their actions, whether delayed or instant, often feel fated. Their growth lies in learning to balance the intensity of the moment with the wisdom of the cycle, knowing when to surrender, when to act, and when to let endings unfold. When integrated, Moola becomes the karmic navigator, rooted in soul time, able to honor both the pain of the now and the promise of deeper liberation across lifetimes. Moola Nakshatra, primary interest motivation, people, activities, places, or things. Some individuals are primarily driven by people, relationships, emotional connection, or social belonging. Others are motivated by activities, the process of doing, creating, solving, or transforming. Some feel drawn to places, specific environments that evoke memory, intensity, or spiritual grounding. And others are driven by things, material objects, tools, or systems that offer power, structure, or value. Moola Nakshatra, ruled by Ketu, detachment, inner truth, karmic unraveling, and associated with Niriti, goddess of dissolution and hidden power, is most deeply motivated by activities and places, particularly those connected to transformation, healing, or stripping things back to their core. These natives are seekers and destroyers of illusion. They're drawn to intense actions and sacred spaces that allow for release, regeneration, or root-level truth. While they may connect with people and use tools or objects meaningfully, their soul is fueled by what helps them go deeper. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how their motivations are shaped. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the motivation is inward and activity-focused, especially around deconstruction or introspection. These individuals are driven by an urge to undo, simplify, or purify. In Moola, Ketu intensifies the pull toward purposeful action, not to build more, but to strip away what isn't true. If Ketu is in the 10th, their career path often involves working behind the scenes in research, healing, or shadow work, roles that require peeling away layers rather than performing. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the drive toward activities becomes even stronger, especially physical, confrontational, or goal-oriented ones. These individuals are energized by action that results in breakthrough. In Moola, Mars gives them sharp focus. They're motivated by challenge, intensity, and solving what others avoid. If Mars is in the 10th, they often work in crisis roles, investigative fields, or high-stakes professions that demand courage and cutting through illusion. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, people may become a strong motivator, though often karmically charged. These individuals seek emotional depth in relationships, but may repeatedly experience loss, betrayal, or catharsis through them. In Moola, Moon draws them into soul-deep bonds, not surface attachment. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional motivation extends to how they lead. They often feel compelled to guide or protect others, especially during emotional or transformational times. If Jupiter or Venus is in the 4th, 9th, or 10th house, places, especially sacred, ancestral, or intellectually potent ones, may become central to motivation. These natives are drawn to temples, forests, libraries, or emotionally charged locations where insight and release can happen. In Moola, Jupiter adds moral and spiritual drive. They're motivated by places that evoke healing or awakening. If Jupiter is in the 10th, their public role often involves creating or holding space for truth through teaching, ceremony, or deep service. If Mercury or Rahu is in the 3rd or 10th house, things such as knowledge, tools, or systems may become part of the motivator, especially if those things help them communicate, deconstruct, or gain insight. In Moola, Mercury sharpens mental activity. They may use language, logic, or metaphysical tools to support transformation. If Rahu is in the 10th, the drive for mastery or influence may become stronger, though they must eventually detach from status and focus on deeper purpose. Moola's true motivation lies in uncovering what's real by burning away what's not. These natives aren't here to accumulate. They're here to expose, cleanse, and realign. Whether drawn to sacred spaces, raw experiences, or intense work, they are always reaching for what lies beneath the surface. When balanced, Moola becomes the root worker, the soul diver, the fearless transformer, motivated not by gain, but by the raw, sacred truth that comes only through letting go.